Welcome back to this clown's garage. This will be a two-part video. First, I'll discuss how to diagnose a faulty brake caliper if it's stuck, ways how to do that. And the second part of the video, I will show you a demo on changing a bad caliper on a car. In the demo though, I'm not going to show you taking the caliper off the caliper bracket. It'll be just hanging like this from the hose, and I'll show you how to, how to assemble it, put it back on, put it back in the car. The brake pad part of it I took out just to make the video a little shorter than usual. I have a bunch of brake videos on my channel, so check out my channel for if you want to know how to change the pads or take a caliper off. Now on a brake caliper, the piston should freely go back and forth. This is the piston here. I also have a video showing a piston that doesn't go in all the way. It's pretty much when you try to press this to put new pads on, this doesn't go flush in with the housing of the caliper. If that happens, that means your piston's seized. Now what happens here is this rubber boot over here cracks or lets in water or humidity and rusts up inside the piston here in the bore, and it doesn't move back and forth freely and it gets stuck. Or sometimes when you put pads on and you put the rubber boot over the face here and you put the pad on, as the piston goes back and forth, it tears the boot. So make sure the boot never touches the face of this piston. Now if the piston gets stuck on the outside, in other words, it's constantly holding the pads on the rotor, you'll notice when you let go of the gas and it's just rolling without pressing the brake, the car pulls to one side. Now, where it pulls to that one side, that's where you're going to have the bad caliper. And of course, you could always jack the car up and spin the wheel with your hand to see which one doesn't spin and the caliper is engaged. And you'll have, sometimes you have smoking from that rotor, from that wheel. Or at night you can see it's going to be a red hot rotor and it has excessive brake dust. Now if the caliper piston is stuck on the inside like this and it doesn't come out, when you press the brake, the car should pull. Say it pulls on one side, say it pulls to the left, then the right caliper is bad. If it pulls to the right, your left caliper is bad, because one side is gripping, the other one is not. So that's how you could diagnose that. You can also see the rotor on which side it's the rotor. The one that doesn't work is probably rusted up, and the good side is all nice and shiny and clean. So if the rotor is rusty on that side, chances are the caliper is not grabbing in that side. Also, one other thing to note here is sometimes the rubber hose collapses on the inside and keeps the piston from going back in, so it's constantly engaging the pads on the rotor. Now, what happens is when you press on the master cylinder and it pushes the fluid down here to push the piston out, that works fine and dandy. Now, when you let go of the brake and the master cylinder starts to withdraw the fluid from the system, from the caliper, as it withdraws, it creates a vacuuming or sucking, which I prefer to say. It collapses the hose here and it keeps the pressure in here. One way you could tell that is if you crack the caliper here, the bleeder screw. Once you crack it open, without the brake being applied, it'll squirt out. And that means, if it squirts out, that means you have a collapsible, the hose collapses. Or another way you could diagnose that is you could get one of these kits SSBC sells. It's a sure stop brake pressure gauge kit. And it has different adapters, and you hook up these adapters to the bleeder screw over here. And you could tell the pressures to see if the pressure is holding, or if it collapses in this case and you let go of the brake and there's still pressure there. Disc brakes, usually if you diagnose problems with the brake system and you have this gauge, disc brakes, you want to see anywhere from 1200 to 1400 PSI, or drums, 600 to 1000, because drums operate on less pressure. So that's another tool you could use to diagnose issues with the braking system. So now on to the video and enjoy. Toodles. This is Infiniti 2006 FX35. We're changing the caliper on this. So this is the new caliper. First thing you gotta do is put these brackets in for the pads. So it's just like the old ones. This is the old ones. Just follow how to do those for the old ones. And just pretty much like that. And that's clipped in. So these brackets are clipped in. This is how it comes. You put some brake caliper grease in here. That's where the tabs travel back and forth from the brake pads. Here, the old caliper, it's a 12mm bolt here. Now remember, there's going to be air here when you put the new one, so you got to bleed it also. So pop this out. Make sure you have a pan underneath to catch the brake fluid. And you also have new copper washers with the kit. That's the old caliper. This is a banjo fitting, and what it means is in here is the hole, and it goes through this special bolt here. There's a hole in the bolt, and there's a copper washer and copper washer, so you have to replace those. Take the copper washer out. Fitting, copper washer again. Now you gotta take this green cover off. Now you see this little tube that goes in here. It's so this whole thing won't turn, it'll position it correctly, so it'll index it correctly once you put it in there. And now you can just turn this and screw it right in. Now you go around and mount this on the brake spindle piece. Just move this around until you catch it on the other side. Just move it around, wiggle and jiggle, and you'll eventually catch it. And that's caught. Now I'm going to catch the bottom bolt. And now the bottom bolt caught. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down now. These are 3/4 inch bolts, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down now. Alright, this one, I'm just going to put this other wrench here for leverage, and this is how I took it off too. So you got to give this some good torque. And you're good. Alright, so now that you tighten this down, go back here and tighten this 12mm bolt. Clean this with carburetor spray or brake fluid cleaner. Brake cleaner, sorry. and dry it out with a towel. So when you're bleeding it, you could check to see if this is leaking. Now you can go ahead and crack this open with 8mm. And I have a video on how to bleed brakes, so check out my video on that. I'm briefly going to tell you how to do it. Pretty much, you crack this open and you put this on. Have somebody in the car, press the brakes down a couple times, hold it, open this, then you can see brake fluid come out. Then you tighten it and tell the person in the car again to let go of the brake and pump it a couple times. And make sure you're mindful of the fluid in the master cylinder. So I'm just going to do this once for you guys to see what it looks like. I'm going to have somebody pressing the brakes inside and hold it down. Alright, so now I got somebody inside, pumped a couple times and it's holding the brake pedal down, and also cracked this open. So as you can see there. Alright, now I'm going to I close it again, and the person inside the car again pumped a couple times and he's holding it down. So now I'm just going to crack it open. And as you can see, the brake fluid coming out of there. So I'm going to do that until I see no air bubbles coming out. So repeat that process. So that's how you change a caliper on most cars. This particular example is a 2006 Infiniti FX35. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, you know you want to. Also, like me, share me, and whatever the hell you want to me down there. Toodles.